Hi, Shubha. You can unmute and turn on your video if possible.
Hello. Sorry, I'm just zooming in from another meeting, so I'm just trying to orient myself to all the friendly faces I'm seeing here. Nice to see so many of you. Thank
Yay.
you for
And
inviting, Stacy.
of course, we love having you. And people are kind of still coming in for just a second, but I wanted to make sure that, we could see and hear you perfectly. Um, so give everyone just like maybe at the most another minute. And I'll be clicking away. But okay, so this is a really casual, peer-to-peer is very casual, comfortable, conversational, happy to see people after, gosh, the last meeting was in June. So we've had summer off and Dr. K. So this is Dr. Shubha Kashinath. And what should we call you today?
Please call me Shubha.
Okay.
Always, not just today.
Okay. Well, I'm so happy to have you here, and I want to be respectful of your time because I told you this was going to be short and sweet. I'm going to read a small bio, but I think it'll be helpful for people to hear from you, kind of just talk about your background with coaching, because that's what we're here for today. But Dr. Shubha Kashinath is an associate professor at the Department of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences at Cal State East Bay. Her research and teaching interests focus on working with autistic individuals across the lifespan, caregiver-focused interventions, and personal preparation in speech-language pathology. She has over 20 years of clinical experience serving young children and families. And that's such a small summary for all of the work that you do and have done. But what would you add to that that's relevant for all these coaches in the room across all these different disciplines?
Oh, wow. So when you said what is relevant, then I don't have much to add. I think that about summarizes it, but I did get promoted. So now I'm just professor, which was, a lot of work. So I'm still learning to change all my titles and all my various bios everywhere, but that's been fun. I think in terms of what's relevant to this community, I've come back to EI after, not having done it for a while, getting started in it early in my doctoral work, but then after the break, I've had to navigate the role of not just reflecting on how I'm doing EI, but how I'm guiding students as they're learning how to work with families. So I've kind of had to have a meta kind of picture on, well, how do we teach speech pathologists to be, or educators to be, or early interventionists to be? And it's giving me a lot of insight into what we should be teaching in the grad program. So that's the only other thing I think has been on my mind.
Yes, I feel like you're just the perfect person to come speak to us because so many of the people here have not had that training, and that's why they're here. It's like, how do I learn how to do this and feel successful at it? And so today we're just taking a little bite-sized chunk out of that whole puzzle and saying, when we get started with families for the first time, what can we do to ensure long-term coaching success? Like, what can we say, show, and do right from the very beginning, whether it's the first call, email, visit? Share with us what has worked for you.
Yeah, I was reflecting on this and thinking about all the things you should not do, because, a lot of us are very passionate about coaching and about family-centered practice, and we bring that framework into everything we do, but sometimes that can be a lot for families to take right away. And so there's this quote by Anna Quinlan, who's one of my favorite authors, which applies to parenting, but I thought it kind of also relates to EI. And this is how it goes. This is how I learn most of what I know about my children and their friends, by sitting in the driver's seat and keeping quiet. And I was thinking about this and I thought, it kind of, in my own crazy mind, it makes sense when I think of my role in EI. I go into a family's home and Early on, I was bringing the cheerleading squad as far as you're in the driver's seat, mom and dad, you are the expert, you know what to do, I'm here to support you, and laying it really, really thick, right? And not realizing that in doing so, I might miss the cues that are telling me that they're not ready. So just um, as many therapists and professionals fully don't understand the nuances of family guided processes, a lot of families come to this meeting and interaction with different expectations, different frameworks, different experiences, and perhaps different choices. So you really have to meet them where they are to an extent. This is not to say you have to go back to toy bags, but I think between the ideal and where the family is, there's a lot of room for growth. So I felt like that was especially relevant in terms of thinking about not being listening more and observing more and meeting them where they're at. So that was one big it's an important aha. I have to remind myself every family I meet because I'm so ready to coach, and I have to remind myself that maybe not every family is ready to be coached, and they might need more of me kind of driving, but listening, you know.
I want to ask you just a follow up before you jump into the next thing, but that takes a lot of pressure off so many of us listening that think I have to do it perfectly and I have to do it right. So I actually love this answer. It's not what I was expecting from someone who has a research background and the knowledge base and the passion.
Sorry.
But it's good. It's good because I want the quote that people think of me with to say, I always say it over and over, coaching doesn't have to be perfect to be effective. Like we can lean in, right? And so I think everyone here feels pretty comfortable being like, I might not be doing it perfectly with fidelity, but like I'm shifting, or with this family, I'm getting here, with this family, I'm getting there, and being gentle with ourselves. And so we can just apply that same concept essentially with a family, right? Like this family's here. Okay.
Absolutely. I think you will. I have found, especially with early on when we were doing FGRBI research, in our first cohort, we had 30 families, and we lost all of the families that were bilingual, that were from a different culture, that that were not, mainstream middle class two parent households. And it really bothered me because I am a person of color, and I kept wondering, wait, why isn't family guided making sense to these families? Because we're essentially saying, well, do whatever you like, we want them to guide the process. But in stepping back, I realized that itself, that approach, that model was not something they were ready for. And so I really needed to support them in their learning of what coaching is, just as I was applying coaching. So I kind of had to do both of that. And it's made me start to kind of dynamically meet the family where they are. So if a family is not very into the coaching, and it means that for many sessions or parts of many sessions, I'm kind of leading. I'm still doing that because that seems to ease the parent. So I'm watching for cues from the parent on what seems to get the most traction with them. I've realized that some of my sessions don't look like what Julianne Woods would want them to look like, right? And for those who don't know Julianne Woods, she's my doctoral mentor. So there's always Julianne Woods sitting on my shoulder whenever I'm in EI,
I
even
think
though it's been 20 some years.
everyone here probably knows. Yeah.
I figured. So I try to find a way to build trust and to build credibility with the family. And sometimes that means I'm leading more. And then but I'm never losing the focus of the fact that I have to pass this baton back. But how can I get the family ready to take the baton from me?
So if your bigger goal isn't about, it's really like the philosophy and the main core component of early intervention is to build caregiver capacity, right? That confidence and competence to meet their child's needs. If we take the pressure off ourselves to coach perfectly as not being our main goal, then what does that bring us back to in that first visit? Like what's kind of going through your head, knowing like I'm here, the driver's seat, I'm here. Sorry, you said it so much better, but what else comes to mind that maybe we can apply to any family to some degree?
Yeah, so you are asking such big and important questions. I hope I have some answers. So one of the things that I try to leave each family with in each session is something to celebrate and something that I've done to address an issue. So I find that it's very rare for me to have to work really hard to find something to celebrate. I just go in and I start to become cheerleader, right? Oh my, I love that. If I have to say that a million times in a session, that's fine, because the goal on one level is to reinforce and provide validation and build the caregiver's competence on the actual behavior. But more meta, I'm kind of setting the stage for, I'm building trust. I'm giving you a lot of feedback on what's going right. And then I'm constantly watching their nonverbal as well as listening to their verbal communication about maybe an issue they're facing. And I want to pick on an issue, honestly, and this is a community where I hope I can be completely blunt, but I want to pick on something where I know the chances of my suggestion working are high. Initially, because I want to build their trust in me. So if they say, well, we have a lot of aggressive behavior, and I've not seen that in the session, that's not going to be something that I'm going to just throw a laundry list of, here's something to try. I want to pick something small, but something I've seen, something that I know will make a difference in that one interaction or that one routine. And then that hopefully builds the caregiver's trust in my competence. And building that trust then will allow me to slowly shift my behind out of the driver's seat and let them kind of come in, because they know that some of my suggestions have worked. So hopefully in the future, and I say, hey, you lead this activity, they'll be like, okay, maybe if she thinks so, So I go at it from a very relationship-based approach.
I love that. And also relationship based and strengths based. Like you're looking at your own strengths too. Like, is this really the first thing I want to tackle in the beginning where we haven't had that rapport? Oh no, that's perfect. Okay. Again, this is just like big takeaways. Anything else you want to just drop on us?
God, drop on you. Now I feel like I have to be very careful.
Anything
No, this past 1 year, I've had the privilege of working with Lisa, who's Katzman, who's here in the audience, and I've learned so much from how much she observes families. And I really know it's so easy to feel uncomfortable being silent and watching family routines, because at some point the parents are wondering also, I think they're wondering, what are you doing here, just sitting, are you along for the ride? But there's so much information to be gained from letting that observation happen organically and then having the conversation. And on the flip side, sometimes the reflective conversations happen at the end of a routine or an end of an activity, and you might be feeling the pressure that you missed that learning moment, or you haven't kind of caught the, you wanted to provide some information or feedback in the that it was happening. So I tend to tell families a little bit more about myself in the first few sessions. I'm like, hey, so I'm a mom of teenagers, and sometimes I know I only have 2 seconds. So at home, I'm used to just jumping in a lot. I hope you don't mind. So when you're doing something, if I jump in, it's because I just don't want to lose that moment. Or, I just kind of contextualize my communication style to them. And then if I hear back when we're reflecting and analyzing that, yeah, maybe that interrupted Henry's attention or something, then I make a note to myself, okay, I've got to modify. But I try to I try to set the stage for how we're going to communicate early on and then check in. Is it okay if I jump in? Do you want me to wait? Do you want a written email update after? Like, I just check in a lot with them about my communication and whether it's working for them.
No, that's wonderful. I'm just going to reflect really quickly on this. So you are basically sharing with us, I want everyone to realize this, that your reflection to the visits matters, right? It improves your own coaching and your own collaboration. And anyway, that adult learning practice of reflecting
Yeah.
is important. And then also the jumping in is just reminding me about how when we're deep in conversation and building trust with families, that there's still those moments where we see something happening, right? Like while parents talking to you, they're also filling up a bottle and like walking it over. And that's that moment to catch the incidental routine that we possibly get into coaching in the first visit of like, hey, I like how you read his cues. I wonder what would happen, right? And all of that can just start to happen without this structure of what routines are we going to work in today and what, right? Okay.
Yeah. Drawing their attention to the incidental routines is huge. And I think that was a learning experience for me too, learning how to even think of those as opportunities, right? Because we always kind of wait for the stage to be set in the activity. And there's so much happening in transitions and around the family home. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, again, today's just like a few things
Yeah.
today. We're going to reflect together as a group, but you have me thinking for next year, I want to collab with you on possibly a coach to coach specific to the, coaching with cultural competence. So let's explore that together. Okay.
I'm exploring that on a day-to-day basis. Every family I feel like brings their culture with them, and I don't always know. And yes, I love that idea. As always, Stacy, I'm open to collaborating. And if you just want to make this, if am I done? Is that it?
You can
Is
be
that all
done
you?
unless you
No,
have,
no, no. I didn't know what time you had for me. So,
I
but I'm
only
open
asked
to
you for
questions and conversation.
Okay, wonderful. I only asked you for like 15 minutes, so I already am feeling like I don't want to go over her time, but yeah.
I mean, this makes my heart sing, so I'm happy to stay a little bit
Oh,
longer. If you
wonderful.
want to, or
Yeah,
I just stay and observe if that's okay, whatever
sure.
you need.
No, you're welcome to stay and observe. We are going to, first of all, I'll just say to everyone, if somebody has a specific question for Shubha, you can just unmute and say it or put it in the chat and I'll read it. But if you want to stick around, Shubha, we're going to go into some adult learning stuff, or I'm sorry, our coaching kind of practice and collaboration. So you can also just hang out. We'll do breakout rooms and watch some videos. And, we have a nice small group today. I didn't preset the breakout rooms, so we're just going to experiment and see how they go.
Thank you. I'll stay for any questions. I may not be able to stay through the breakout rooms.
Okay, wonderful. So yeah, anyone, we'll just give a moment for you guys to put a question in the chat or unmute, and I'll work in the background for a second on the slides.
I see Karen.
Hi, Shubha. Thanks for being here.
Hi.
I'm wondering, so a couple times where I've had a family like kind of not jibe with the way I'm communicating or whatever, like they seem to just disappear. And like, I get a call from the service coordinator that they wanted to go with someone else. And like, I always start with like, if you have a problem or an issue with me, I would love it if you talk to me first. But a lot of times they don't. Like, is there any sort of like red flags that a family might be putting off before they get to the point where they're like, okay, I'm out? I mean, I try to obviously look to see if people are like looking upset or confused, but like, it seems like they don't want to get into that like possible conflict zone, but I'm really hard to offend. Like, I would love if they would like air things out and bring things to me so that I could try anything, especially with, families from various cultures that they're not happy or something needs to get recalibrated?
That's such a great question, and it's cultural and it's also personal, right? I think there's just everyone's tolerance for conflict and confrontation is so different. My own inclination to talk directly to someone who's helping me, and where I have a difference of opinion, that has grown over the years. Now that I'm older and I've had teenagers and I've had to say no a lot, I'm much better at it now. But initially, I would really be hesitant. I noticed families I noticed my suggestions being followed through. So the next time I see an activity happen, and if it's not being followed through, I'm like, something's not working. I notice a lot more quiet time, that I'm filling up the airtime a lot, especially on Zoom. And then I think, well, let's recalibrate. And yeah, those would be two biggies for me. If I've made a suggestion, it seemed to work in the session that we were first, where we first saw the activity happen, and then it didn't continue. I always make it a point to ask, or I shouldn't say always. I try to remember to say, hey, last time we talked about it, doing it this way. I don't see that. What, tell me more. And it could be that they forgot and they just, that's fine, but it could also open the door for more direct kind of problem solving, which is what we're going for. I think it's very hard for families to tell you that they don't want to work with you, even when they don't. So I think that is a big conversation that I've been kicked out of homes and I've just never had a conversation. They've just decided that, right? But yeah, hopefully you'll have opportunities to just watch it in micro levels and problem solve there. I think it's more comfortable for families. I'm sorry, this is just my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I wanted. Thank you.
Anyone else? So we have Shubha here. Okay.
Well, thank you guys for boosting my ego with all your kind words. I'm going to carry that feeling for the rest of the day in all the meetings that I don't want to be in. And Angie, we should connect. We're in the same part of the country. So please feel free to share my email. I'm happy to be a resource, although my emailing sometimes can get delayed, but happy to help in any way. Thank you so much for inviting me, and good luck to all of you in your journeys with all your families.
Yay, thanks, Shubha. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks, bye.